Okay, so this is again what I've come up with. Hopefully you've come up with similar ideas. Maybe you've come up with different ideas and perspectives, which is good. So this is why schools currently use sports coaches to supplement, to support primary education and school sport. It's down to we've talked about initial teacher education training. There is a lack of expertise, there's a lack of knowledge in the primary school. Teachers lack confidence, they haven't got the expertise, they might have the pedagogy, they understand how to teach, but they don't necessarily understand how to teach physical education in a practical content or practical environment. They might understand how to teach something, but they haven't got what we call the pedagogical content knowledge. So from a coaching perspective, like I said previously, we've got the how to coach and the what to coach. You might have a massive book of coaching skills. So you might be able to interpret that, but you might not be able to get that information across. So for primary schools, we need guys going in there that have got pedagogical content knowledge. They understand what to coach or what to teach, and they understand how to teach it. And what you've got to remember here is that these are primary school kids. If you're teaching Key Stage 1, they're 5 to 7 years of age. If you're a sports coach going in now working with 6-year-old kids, you need to change your communication. You need to change how you discipline. You need to change the structure of your lesson. You need to change how you give feedback. And that might be completely different from how you coach older children. Now, lots of people will be critical and say, well, you're a coach. Now, let's say you work in a football club at the minute. You coach within an academy and you coach 6 to 7-year-olds. Now, lots of people will say the way that you coach those 6 to 7-year-olds in a football environment will be different to how you coach kids in a primary school. Now, for me, because of coaching is about holistic development at the minute, and it's about coaching kids physically, technically, tactically, socially, there shouldn't really be any different. Yes, albeit the kids that you work with in a football environment, in a club, will have slightly better ability, so the practices, the structure, the environment might be a little bit different, but you should be treating those kids the same in terms of how you speak to them, how you give them feedback, how you look after them socially and psychologically. Those principles should be the same. We also have something in schools at the minute called, this goes back to early sort of 2000s. There was something called a Workload Agreement. It was about how we could modernise the school workforce. In Wales and England, the government recognised that teachers needed far more time for what we call PPA. So planning, preparation and assessment. So the government recognised that the school week, teachers were spending far too long teaching and they didn't have enough time to prepare their lessons. They didn't have enough time to plan their lessons. They didn't have enough time to mark. Now, I'll probably be quite critical of that and say, well, school teachers get 13, 14 weeks holidays a year. Those holidays aren't just to relax. Those holidays should include time to plan, prepare, assess. And I think sometimes teachers interpret school holidays as 13 weeks of relaxation and doing nothing, whereas in effect they shouldn't be 13 weeks of just doing nothing. That 13 weeks should include time to do planning, preparation and assessment. But that's just my opinion. Creation of PPA is within the school term time. Teachers will get a certain proportion of their working week allocated to planning, preparation and assessment so that they can spend time making sure their lessons are up to date. Now what the school will then get, the school will get paid a certain amount of money whereby they can bring in external people to cover the teachers so that they can do their PPA. And usually what happens is the teachers will use that, or the school will use that money to bring in external people to deliver physical education, because the teachers don't want to deliver physical education and they think their time is spent better doing other things. So whilst PPA has been, it's been a good thing, to free up time for teachers, to allow them to do other things, what tends to happen is schools will also use this as an opportunity and use that money to bring in physical education people, whether it's sports coaches, whether it's sports organisations, to come in and deliver their physical education. Now, that's a benefit, that's a good thing. I suppose my only criticism of that is, well, if you're coming in to deliver coaching within that school, if the teacher is working alongside you within the school and learning from you and you're working in collaboration, then great, because there's some dual teaching, there's some dual learning taking, there's some synergy between what you're doing and what the teachers are doing. However, I would say 99% of the time what happens is the teachers will see the PPA as an opportunity to go and sit somewhere and possibly do some planning, preparation and assessment, and there will be no contact with you as a sports coach. So they will leave you to work independently and teach the PE lesson. I think also that why do we use sports coaches? Broadening of the PE curricula. You know, we talked about lack of knowledge, lack of expertise, lack of content knowledge. Teachers won't have knowledge of a broad PE curriculum, which is what they should be teaching within a primary school. You guys coming in, you've got that understanding. You've got an understanding of movement skills and physical literacy, and you hopefully you can teach across other sports as well. Okay, just to elaborate a little bit on PPA. Most important thing, studies would suggest that PPA has led to teachers recruiting others to deliver their PE. And that's what we found, is that PPA teachers will go and sit somewhere else and the school will use that funding to come in and take the place of their PE teaching. Looking at some of the research now, so again, they were some of my sort of thoughts. Hopefully you've come up with some others. This is just from a piece of research, and again, I'll put this on Blackboard so you can see. Same sort of themes. Why do we use sports coaches? Access expertise, provide variety and diversity. Access physical resources. We talk about a lack of equipment, a lack of facilities. Coaches coming in, organisations coming in tend to bring their own kit, their own equipment. Accreditation requirement. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. You know, should teachers that have only done 6 hours of PE in their initial teacher training be delivering certain sports? I certainly wouldn't be confident in them delivering gymnastics or rugby, because there are some serious issues there to do with how we teach gymnastics correctly, how we teach rugby correctly. Sufficient in-house expertise. Yeah, there's a lack of sort of expertise. Geographical isolation. There's a number of reasons why we bring in sports coaches to come in and support the delivery of physical education, or what it says there, the outsourcing of physical education. We outsource the delivery to other people. In terms of where do they contribute? If you're a sports coach going into a school to deliver the PE curriculum, most of the time you're supporting the delivery of the curriculum in lesson time. You might do some extracurricular activity, so it might be some lunchtime clubs, it might be some after school clubs, it might be some off-site activity. I think the most important thing for me, if you are going to come in and deliver within curriculum time, you should be delivering against the curriculum. You should understand the national curriculum. You should understand the key stages. You should understand the attainment targets within each key stage, within each year group. Outside school clubs, lunchtime clubs, that's a little bit different because it's extracurricular. So there's more of an emphasis on play, and there's more of an emphasis on sport and participation. If you're delivering in curriculum time, yes, it still should be about fun, play, enjoyment, developing lifelong participation, but there are also some key targets and attributes that you need to deliver against.